Well, delighted to be continuing our 50-year celebrations of the 1975 RFU Club competition victory and subsequent tour to Canada. Delighted to be joined today by the outside centre in that game at Twickenham, Richard Chadwick, affectionately known to us all here as Chads. Chads, if you could start just by talking to us about that day. We'll talk about the season as a whole as well, but that day is pretty special, one of only two Bedford sides to win at Twickenham. Can you just take us to what you remember from that brilliant day in 1975?
Well, the whole day was a sort of blur. It started when I finished school teaching on the Friday, and I was picked up about sort of 5 o'clock, taken down to Richmond, where we spent the night in a hotel. And it was all just meeting up, and then went to bed. I remember John Howard, my other centre, had a couple of beers, and I was wondering, what are you doing, getting beers? And he said, that's the only way I can sleep. He used to get quite nervous. We were all quite nervous, I think. And the next morning was a bit of a shambles, to be honest. We had a team meeting we'd already nailed everything, and we didn't need it, but we were all 10 sitting around in this hotel lobby somewhere, and the boys were a bit sort of reckless, they started chucking pillows at each other, and it was actually the nerves, but I didn't understand what was going on. I thought, this is the biggest game of our lives coming up, and everyone's playing around like little schoolboys. But I think that was the effect of the nerves. So anyway, Tony Jordan took us away, the backs away, and we had a kick around in Richmond Park, which calmed everyone down a bit. And and then we went back to the hotel, lunch, and down for the game. And I travelled with Budge and Briggsy, I remember that. And I remember walking out thinking, I'd seen this place on television, I'd been there a couple of times with Loughborough, but not actually on the pitch playing. I was nearly on the pitch, didn't quite make it. And it was a bit special. Masses of Bedford supporters, loads of coach loads from my school of kids had gone down, and the accounts vary between 10 and 18,000 there, so I don't know what the actual gate was, but it was easily a record for a cup day. And we had to go out and beforehand and put have a photograph and all line up, and I was a bit impatient really. I didn't really want to do that. I was trying to focus on what we had to do. All sorts of pre-match rituals you have to go through when it's a big game. No anthems or anything, but and then the game seemed to start, and then everything settles down a bit. But yeah, brilliant. First half was, it seemed to me to go in an absolute flash. And I thought there'd been about 10 minutes gone, and the ref blew for half time. And we took a bit of a hammering in the first half, to be honest. But they were the most powerful pack in the country, and we were a bunch of athletes in the pack who could run around all day long. But the set piece, they gave us a really hard time. And we got lifted, we got pushed, we got shunted. But we had some great tacklers in the back row and elsewhere. And we did manage to get some loose ball, which we ran back at them. And they scored an early try. I think Ripley got involved and moved it left. And Mackay on the wing scored a great try for Rosslyn Park. We were 4-0 down for most of the half. 4 points for a try in those days. Most of the half we were down. Then, right at the end of the first half, we got into their 22, did a little move in the backs and put Derek over in the corner. Very good team try. And suddenly we're 6-4 up. It's half time. I couldn't believe the half time whistle went, but he did. And I remember and that's when Budgie showed his true colours as an England captain. The most capped player England had ever had. 7 times captain of his country. And Budgie as an athlete, as a rugby player, as a sportsman, he sort of smelt blood. When the opposition were just showing a sign of weakness. We'd been hammered all first half, and we turned at half time, 6-4 up. And his team talk was something to the effect of, look, they've thrown everything they've got at us, they've given us a bit of a hammering and we're winning. Now we're going to play rugby, and they kicked off the second half. And from the kick-off, I think Wilkie caught it, zip, 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 and suddenly Dumper appeared on the end of a move involving about 5 or 6 of the forwards. Tremendous drive by the forwards, passing rather than driving through tackles. And Dumper was under the sticks with a flamboyant dive, which, he could have, I don't know what score he would have got in the Olympic diving competition, but it was a hell of a try. And so suddenly we're 12-6 up. And then, we scored. Demo scored a couple of fantastic tries, almost. So one of them, Derek missed me out to give it to Demo, which is a bloody good idea because I don't think I'd have scored. And then the other one, Demo, showed a couple of overhead dummies and shimmies and steps and pace and power, and got in a wonderful individual try. And then Keeney, the other prop, so 2 props scored and 2 wingers scored actually. Keeney, the prop, carried Lionel Weston about 20 yards over the try line, and I was calling for the ball all 20 yards. Keeney, I'm unmarked. Keeney, come on. But I forgave him because he scored, and that was my nearest chance of glory, I think. But well done, Keeney. That was great. And then finally, we had a magnificent try from the back when Tony Jordan caught a ball about an hour 22, being put into touch and linked with Derek Wyatt. And Derek went on one of his long, mazy runs against a broken field, which he was magnificent at. And he put Demo in for Demo's second. So, yeah, Derek 1 try, Demo 2 tries. The 2 props, Keeney and Dumper, that's Chris Bellwood, I should say, better known as Dumper to us, and Robert Deming, the Lancashire boy in the team, along with myself, scored the tries. Brilliant, wonderful day.
Take us to the scenes after the game. I spoke to a few fans that were there that day, and I've obviously been reading some of your comments here. It must have been an unbelievable atmosphere. People running on the pitch. You would have been legends at the time.
It was very special, and I was sort of the young kid in the team, and quite sort of new to it, and hadn't played big games like that before. So it was, I was just trying to be on my best behaviour, not let anyone down. But I remember mobs came around us. Just lots of my school kids came on, and someone put a boater on my head, Bedford boater, and it was a wonderful scene. We had to go up the steps, and Budgie collected the trophy, and we all went up to pick up. I think we got a handshake actually. We didn't get a medal or anything. It was just a handshake with whoever. And then afterwards, my brother and dad had come down from Lancashire and had a chat with them just outside the changing room. And a little old man came up to me, I remember well, and said, "You've made my life." A little old man with a walking stick. It was very, very humbling, but a wonderful day. And do you want me to go through the evening?
Of course.
Well, we obviously had a bit of champagne in the changing room, courtesy of the committee, I think, and Harry Elliott. And then we went to a hotel and watched the game with the Rosslyn Park lads and had a couple of beers there, which is very nice. They were a great bunch of lads. Then afterwards, Budgie had arranged a nightclub for us, which was a sort of restaurant dinner dance sort of thing. Very, 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 just a wonderful sense, a deep sense of satisfaction that we'd done what we came to do. We played in the style we wanted to play, and it worked out well. So a job well done. And then finally, about 2 a.m, we poured out into the street, and Budgie had some wonderful cars in those days, and I was driving a 1958 Morris 1000, I think. Budge said, "How are you getting home, Chad?" I don't know, Budge. He said, "Well, I do. You're driving my car." So I drove Jenny and Nanette and Budge back to Bedford at 2 a.m. That was the joys of amateur rugby.
We'll try and provide some context for supporters who maybe don't know the background, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but back in those times, there wasn't necessarily a league structure. They were all sort of friendlies, we'd call them, in a modern day. I guess this was your opportunity to lift some silverware. Yeah. We've got obviously the trophy in front of us now. It was the main way in those days to prove that Bedford was the best rugby club around.
Yeah, it was the only way, in fact, and the cup had only been started, I think, 4 years earlier. Moseley had won once. Someone else won it. Coventry were unbeaten in the cup because they didn't enter the first year. We were the fourth team to win it. But there was, teams didn't think, they thought it should be an amateur game played for fun, and it's not about a competition or league tables or money. It's about just enjoying yourself at high-level sport. So there was controversy, and gradually this cup became established. It was quite clearly, by the time we entered it, one we wanted to win. And every team in the country, that was the only thing you could possibly win. So if you won that, just for 20 minutes or so, you were the best team in the country. And that's what we did. The John Player, it was sponsored by tobacco company John Player. So it was called the John Player Cup at the time. Is that answered your question?
Yeah. Yeah, it has. And actually, you speak about it there. Obviously, lots of supporters who will be watching this will know the rivalry between Bedford and Coventry. Coventry, as you talk about, with the team that you beat here at Goldenton Road in the semi-final to secure your place at Twickenham, it was a very tough campaign, not just to win the trophy, but to even get the chance to win the trophy.
Well, that's right. We had a brilliant draw, apart from the one away game at Bournemouth, which was a walkover, more or less. Every game was drawn at Goldington Road. So that gave us one edge. And the planners and the organiser, Briggsy and Budge, and the committee, I suppose, have been planning to win this trophy for Budge's swan song, I think. So they assembled a team, and bits of it were put into place during that season, actually. Alan Lewis came from Cambridge University. I changed from back row to centre, to probably bolster up the defence, not quite sure. Other players sort of came, and we clearly had a side that could cope with nearly anything that you could throw at it. The Cov game they had probably one of the meanest packs, if not the meanest pack in the country. They were sort of, I wouldn't say a bunch of thugs, but it was hard work. It was a tough place to go in those days. Coomben Road away, or down here, they were aiming to arm wrestlers and beat us up. And then they had the fastest back division the world's ever seen. Maybe there are some equally quick nowadays. But the famous David Duckham was on the wing. Peter Rosper was a lightning fullback, England cap, both England caps. Priest and Evans in the centre were really quick centres. Schoolboy on the other wing, Simon Maisie. Dick Cowman, England fly half. And Grimshaw, Irish international fly half. They had a hell of a back division. And they had plenty of ball. And we just had to tackle all game long. And we scored two brilliant opportunist tries that sort of bounced on the ball type of thing. John Howard kicked ahead and dived on it. Great solo try, really. From sort of 10 yards out, little dummy and a grubber. And the other try, Andy Hollins, right at the end, when it was still in the balance and we were just been defending, we got it into their half. And their scrum half missed his fly half with a pass. It went in goal, and Hollins was the first there. But the tackling from our back row and the whole side actually was fantastic. I finished the game sort of limping heavily. I remember Priest ran around me, I think, or Jeff Evans, I think it was actually. My pace had gone down, and it wasn't that good to start with. So I was struggling, and I thought, I've lost the game for us. They're going to score on the outside. And I remember Hollins and Demo covering across, and they scragged, I think it was Duckham in the end who'd got the pass to the ground, and I was so relieved. But then I didn't play again till the final. It was 3 weeks later, and I had physio every day. Just about made it. That was brilliant.
You attend games here at Goldenton Road, very often in the sort of modern era, people that I've been speaking to have credited the current style as being that you were the trailblazers of what Bedford rugby is all about. What would you say to that?
Well, Bedford have always tried to play adventurous rugby. The game has been an adventure. So we tried to be wide and open and fluid and keep moving. And we always reckoned if we get 30% of the ball, we'd beat anybody. And I think Mike Ray's teams are the same now. They play fantastic rugby. And I think we tried to play fantastic rugby in the amateur era. So, and the people who set that off, I think, were Pat Briggs and Budge. Budge was always telling Gareth, "Don't kick it, Gareth, run it, you know. Run it!" You know, they used to do that all the time. We did certainly play that way, and I think they still play that way. And bits in between, we've had various levels of success, but we've always tried to play rugby at Bedford, and long may it continue.
The positives that come out of obviously winning the trophy at Twickenham, you then go on tour to Canada. It must be an incredible year for this club if you look at it. First overseas tour, you win every game. You've obviously got the trophy as well. It must have been an incredible time to be part of an unbelievable group of players as well.
It absolutely was. I think 5 of our lads went on the England tour that summer. Certainly Derek Wyatt, Neil Bennett, Tony Jordan didn't come on tour with us. Who else was? I'm not quite certain on that. But there were a few on the England tour. Bob Deming was with England B. I think went to Romania actually. So it was a good squad of 23 sort of wanderers in town. Went to Canada, and we had a very entertaining time on and off the field. Yeah, wonderful time. We celebrated big time, but took the rugby seriously.
Yeah, and you win every game. That's kind of what you went there for, I guess.
Exactly. Canada were an emerging nation. They had, and everywhere where we played, there seemed to be the local team, plus a few ringers being brought in from the Canadian national squad. So I remember Spence McTavish and Jim Barber in the centre, which, you know, Canadian internationals, great sevens players. And Hans de Gerder, a back row player, who later played for Cardiff before your time. And who was a Scotty? His forehead was about this wide. His eyes were miles apart. He was straight, you know, Sir Herman, built like a giant redwood. He was, and there were some big, strong boys. And there was one game, I think, the Capilano Cowboys, we call them, otherwise known to us as the Hole in the Wall gang, who were rough and ready, and the local judge was the referee, and he was the most biased ref I've ever come across, without being unpleasant, and they tackled us all over the park, whether the ball was anywhere near or not. So they were sort of playing a version of American football, and we played rugby. And luckily, it was a bit of a dogfight, and we were getting a little bit sort of slightly not trouble weary, but I suppose a combination of jet lag and a couple of parties we'd been to were taking their toll. And luckily, Dodger Smith managed to scramble over. He said it was a 40-yard jinking, dodging, weaving run. It was actually from about 18 inches out. But he did score a try and then took no further part in the tour with blisters, actually, he said.
Rugby is all about moments and memories. We're obviously commemorating 50 years since the 1975 Twickenham win and Canada tour. That just shows how special those moments were, that you're all getting back together, those that can. 50 years later, that's how much it means to you all. Do you want to be back in each other's company 50 years later?
I think it's fantastic. Every single member of the Canada tour who's alive is coming in a fortnight to have a meal in the marquee and watch the game and exchange a few stories. And some from Australia, from New Zealand, even from Wales, Shropshire, the West Country. Everyone's coming back and staying overnight, whatever. So we'll have a good time, and it's a testament to our spirit. We were a band of brothers, really. We played together. We sort of grew up together. Our families, our kids were playing on the top pitch together. Our wives were doing the tees. That's how it used to be. It was an amateur game, and we was just so privileged to be part of that at one of the finest clubs in England, if not the finest.